How many times have you abandoned a dream because someone said it was unrealistic? How many decisions have you never made because you feared what people would think? How many years of your life have been dedicated not to your goals but to others' expectations? Today we're going to talk about the most destructive addiction of our time, the addiction to others' opinions. This isn't another motivational speech telling you to just stop caring. This is about understanding a fundamental truth that, once internalized, makes the weight of others' judgments simply evaporate. It's about recognizing the psychological mechanisms that keep us trapped in a prison of external validation and finding the key to genuine freedom. You see, most people spend their entire lives performing for an audience that isn't even paying attention. They exhaust themselves trying to impress people who are too busy worrying about their own image to notice. They sacrifice their authenticity for acceptance from individuals whose approval ultimately means nothing. And the tragedy is that this performance never ends. It's a play with no final curtain. No resolution, no peace. But what if I told you there's a way out? What if there's a shift in perspective so profound that it completely transforms your relationship with others' opinions? What if you could finally stop being a prisoner of people who don't even understand the real you? Stay with me, because what we're about to explore might be the most liberating realization of your life, the anatomy of opinion addiction. Let's start by understanding what we're dealing with. The need for others' approval isn't just a preference. It's a psychological compulsion that operates below the level of conscious awareness, so deeply embedded in our psyche that we often don't even realize we're making decisions based on imaginary judgments from people who might not even be thinking about us. This addiction begins early. From childhood, we learn that love, safety, and resources are tied to being good, which usually means being what others want us to be. We internalize the message that our worth is determined by external validation. The parent's proud smile, the teacher's approval, the peer's acceptance, these become the currency of our self-esteem. But here's where it gets insidious. This conditioning doesn't stop in childhood. It continues throughout our lives, creating an endless cycle of performing, seeking approval, getting temporary validation, then needing more. It's like an addiction to a drug that never quite satisfies, never provides lasting peace, always demands more. Think about your last major decision. Did you consider what your family would think? Your friends? Your colleagues? People you barely know? Even people you don't respect? If you're honest, you probably did. And this is the first crack in the illusion. We often seek approval from people whose judgment we wouldn't trust in any other area of life. The cruel irony is that while we're desperately trying to manage others' perceptions of us, those people are usually too preoccupied with managing their own image to give our choices much thought. We're performing for an audience that's largely in our own head. The fundamental misunderstanding. Here's where we need to dig deeper into the psychology of human perception and judgment. Most people operate under a fundamental misunderstanding about how others form opinions of them. They believe that if they could just say the right things, make the right choices, present themselves correctly, they could control what others think of them. This is a profound delusion. Other people's opinions of you have far more to do with their own psychology, experiences, insecurities, and worldview than they do with your actual actions or character. When someone judges you, they're not seeing you clearly, they're seeing you through the filter of their own mind, their own issues, their own limitations. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine you decide to start your own business. One person might see this as inspiring and entrepreneurial. Another might see it as reckless and selfish. A third might see it as showing off or trying to be better than everyone else. The same action, three completely different interpretations. Which one is correct? None of them are about you. They're about the observer's own relationship with risk, success, and ambition. This is the key insight that changes everything. Others' opinions of you are really about them, not you. They're projections of their own psychology onto your behavior. Understanding this doesn't make you callous or antisocial, it makes you free. When you truly grasp that someone's judgment of you is filtered through their own fears, desires, traumas, and conditioning, their opinion stops having power over you. It's not that their opinion doesn't matter because they're bad people, it's that their opinion isn't actually about you at all. The mirror of projection. Let's explore this concept of projection more deeply, because it's crucial to understanding why others' opinions lose their weight once you see what's really happened. Projection is a psychological defense mechanism where people attribute their own thoughts, feelings, and motivations to others. It's universal. We all do it, usually without realizing it. When someone criticizes your ambition, They might be projecting their own fear of failure. When someone judges your lifestyle choices, they might be projecting their own insecurities about their choices. When someone dismisses your dreams, they might be projecting their own disappointment in having given up on it. This isn't to say that all criticism is invalid or that you should ignore all feedback. But it does mean that you need to understand the source and motivation behind others' opinions before giving them weight in your life. The person who's never taken a meaningful risk in their life probably isn't the best advisor on your entrepreneurial journey. The person who's never been in a healthy relationship probably shouldn't dictate your romantic choices. Here's what's fascinating. The people who judge you most harshly are often the ones who are most threatened by what you represent. Your courage highlights their cowardice. Your authenticity exposes your willingness to be vulnerable makes them uncomfortable with their own emotional walls. Your success reminds them of their own unrealized potential. This is why genuinely confident, fulfilled people rarely spend time judging others harshly. They're too busy living their own lives to be threatened by how others choose to live theirs. The harshest critics are usually the most insecure, and recognizing this pattern can be incredibly liberating. The economics of attention. Now let's talk about something most people never consider: the economics of attention and opinion. Every day, every person has a limited amount of mental energy to spend on thinking about others. Most of this energy is consumed by their own problems, relationships, work, and internal dramas. How much time do you think the average person spends genuinely thinking about your choices and judging your life? Be honest. How much time do you spend thinking deeply about others' life choices? Probably very little, because you're too busy dealing with your own life. This is one of the most freeing realizations. Most people aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are. They're not lying awake at night analyzing your decision. They're not having deep conversations about your life choices. They might have a fleeting thought or make a casual comment, but then they move on to their own concern. Yet we live as if we're constantly under a microscope, as if every choice we make is being carefully scrutinized and recorded for posterity. We imagine elaborate judgments that likely don't exist. We worry about disappointing people who probably aren't invested enough in our lives to be disappointed. This isn't cynical, it's realistic. People are generally self-absorbed, and that's actually liberating. It means you're free to make choices based on your own values and goals rather than trying to manage non-existent perception. The authenticity paradox. Here's a paradox that reveals something profound about human nature. The more you try to be liked by everyone, the less authentic you become, and the less people actually connect with you. Conversely, the more authentic you are, even if it means some people won't like you, the more you attract genuine relationships and respect. When you're constantly adjusting your personality, opinions, and choices to gain approval, you become a bland, generic version of yourself. You lose the very qualities that make you interesting and valuable. You become what psychologists call a people pleaser, someone who's so focused on being inoffensive that they become forgettable. But when you stop trying to manage everyone's opinion of you, something magical happens. You start expressing your genuine thoughts, pursuing your real interests, making choices aligned with your values. You become more interesting, more magnetic, more yourself. And this authenticity attracts the right people while naturally repelling those who aren't aligned with who you really are. This is the authenticity paradox. Trying to be liked by everyone results in being truly known by no one, while being willing to be disliked by some results in being deeply appreciated by those who matter. Think about the people you most admire and respect. Are they people pleasers who never take a stand or express a strong opinion? Or are they individuals who are clearly themselves, even when it's not popular? The answer is obvious. We're drawn to authenticity, even when we disagree with the authentic person's choice. The freedom of selective opinion seeking. Once you understand that most opinions about you are projections, and that most people aren't thinking about you as much as you imagine, you can become much more selective about whose opinions you actually value. This isn't about becoming closed-minded or dismissive. It's about being strategic and intentional. Whose opinions should matter to you? People who know you well, care about your well-being, have relevant experience or wisdom, and have demonstrated good judgment in their own life. This is probably a very small group, maybe 5 to 10 people maximum. Everyone else's opinion, it's just noise. It might be well-intentioned noise. It might be malicious noise. but it's still just noise. You don't have to be rude about it or dismiss people entirely, but you also don't have to let their casual judgments influence your major life decisions. This selective approach to opinion seeking is incredibly liberating. Instead of trying to please everyone, which is impossible, you focus on the small group of people whose perspectives actually add value to your life. You can still be kind and respectful to others, but you stop being controlled by their approval or disapproval. The biological basis of social approval. To truly understand why others' opinions have such power over us, we need to look at the biological and evolutionary roots of this behavior. For most of human history, being rejected by the group meant death. Our ancestors who cared deeply about group approval were more likely to survive and reproduce. This is why the fear of social rejection feels so intense. It's literally a survival mechanism. Your brain interprets social rejection as a threat to your existence, even when logically you know that someone's disapproval won't actually harm you. Understanding this biological basis is important because it helps you recognize that the anxiety you feel about others' opinions isn't a character flaw. It's a natural human tendency that's no longer adaptive in modern society. You can acknowledge the feeling without being controlled by it. In our current world, being rejected by some people often means you're living authentically and standing for something meaningful. The same traits that might have gotten you ostracized from a small tribal group might now be exactly what allows you to find your true community and create meaningful impact. The spiritual dimension of opinion independence. There's also a spiritual dimension to becoming free from others' opinion. Many wisdom traditions talk about the importance of finding your own path, listening to your inner voice, and not being swayed by the crowd. This isn't just philosophical advice, it's practical guidance for living a fulfilling life. When you're constantly seeking external validation, you're essentially outsourcing your self-worth to others. You're saying that other people are better qualified to judge your life than you are. You're giving away your power to people who don't have to live with the consequences of your choice. Reclaiming this power isn't about becoming arrogant or dismissive of all input. It's about recognizing that you are the ultimate authority on your own life. You're the one who has to live with your choices. You're the one who knows your deepest values, dreams, and circumstance. You're the one who will face the consequences, both positive and negative, of your decisions. This recognition brings a profound sense of responsibility, but also incredible freedom. When you stop trying to live up to others' expectations and start living according to your own values and vision, you become the author of your own life story rather than a character in someone else's narrative. The practice of opinion detachment. So how do you actually implement this understanding in daily life? How do you train yourself to stop being controlled by others' opinions? It starts with awareness and requires consistent practice. First, start noticing when you're making decisions based on what others might think rather than what you actually want or believe is right. This happens more often than you might realize, from small choices like what to wear or what to order at a restaurant, to major decisions about career, relationships, and life direction. Second, practice the deathbed. When you're worried about someone's opinion, ask yourself, will this matter when I'm on my deathbed? Will you regret not pursuing your dreams because your neighbor thought they were impractical? Will you regret not being yourself because some acquaintances might have judged you? Third, develop what I call opinion categorization. When someone offers an opinion about your life, quickly categorize it. Is this person in my inner circle of trusted advisors? Do they have relevant experience or wisdom? Are they speaking from a place of care or from their own issue? Based on this categorization, you can decide how much weight to give their input. Fourth, practice expressing your authentic thoughts and feelings in low-stakes situations. Start with small things. Your genuine opinion about a movie, your real preferences for how to spend time, your actual interests rather than what you think will impress others. As you build this muscle, you'll become more comfortable being authentic in bigger areas of your life. The ripple effects of opinion independence. When you stop being controlled by others' opinions, the effects ripple out into every area of your life. Your relationships become more genuine because you're no longer performing for approval. Your career becomes more aligned with your actual strengths and interests, rather than what you think will look impressive. Your choices become more intentional because they're based on your values rather than external expectations. You also become more attractive to others. Paradoxically, authenticity is magnetic. When people sense that you're not trying to impress them or manipulate their opinion of you, They're more likely to trust and respect you. You become someone who's worth knowing because you're actually yourself, rather than a carefully constructed persona. Your stress levels decrease dramatically because you're no longer trying to manage multiple different versions of yourself for different audiences. You can just be one person, yourself, in all situations. This consistency is not only less exhausting but also more effective, because people know what to expect from you. Your decision-making becomes faster and clearer because you're not paralyzed by trying to anticipate everyone's reaction. You can evaluate choices based on your own criteria, rather than trying to optimize for countless different opinions and preferences. The dark side of opinion independence. It's important to acknowledge that there can be downsides to becoming too independent from others' opinion. Taken to an extreme, this can lead to arrogance, closed-mindedness, or antisocial behavior. The goal isn't to become completely indifferent to all feedback or to stop caring about how your actions affect others. The key is finding the balance between healthy independence and destructive isolation. You want to be free from the need for constant approval while still being open to valuable feedback. You want to be true to yourself while still being considerate of others' feelings. You want to follow your own path while still maintaining meaningful relationships. This balance requires wisdom and discernment. It means being able to distinguish between feedback that's genuinely helpful and criticism that's just projection. It means caring about the impact of your actions on others without being controlled by their approval or disapproval of your choice. Real-world applications. Let's get practical about how this understanding applies to common life situations. Take career choices, for example. How many people stay in jobs they hate because they're afraid of what others will think if they make a change? How many avoid pursuing their passions because someone told them it's not practical or respectable? When you understand that others' career advice is filtered through their own fears, limitations, and experiences, you can make choices based on your own assessment of risk and reward. The person telling you not to quit your corporate job to become an artist might be projecting their own fear of financial insecurity. The person dismissing your business idea might be threatened by your willingness to take risks they're not brave enough to take. In relationships, this understanding is equally powerful. How many people stay in incompatible relationships because they're afraid of what others will think about their choice to leave? How many avoid being vulnerable or authentic with partners because they're trying to maintain a certain image? When you stop trying to have the relationship that looks good to others and start focusing on the relationship that feels right to you, everything changes. You become more honest about your needs, more willing to address problems, more authentic in your connection. Even in small daily interactions, this shift is noticeable. You stop trying to impress the cashier, the barista, or the person sitting next to you on the plane. You can just be normal, human. This is incredibly liberating, and ironically, often makes these interactions more pleasant for everyone involved. The long-term transformation. As you consistently apply this understanding over months and years, you'll notice a profound transformation in how you move through the world. You'll develop what psychologists call an internal locus of control, the sense that your life is primarily influenced by your own choices, rather than external circumstances or others' opinions. This internal locus of control is strongly correlated with mental health, success, and life satisfaction. People who feel in control of their own lives are happier, more resilient, and more likely to achieve their goal. They're also more attractive to others, because they don't radiate the needy energy of someone seeking constant validation. You'll also develop stronger boundaries, which improve all your relationships. When you're not desperate for approval, you can say no to requests that don't align with your values or priorities. You can address conflicts directly rather than avoiding them to maintain false harmony. You can be generous from a place of strength, rather than giving from a place of obligation or manipulation. Your self-esteem becomes more stable because it's based on your own assessment of your character and actions, rather than the fluctuating opinions of others. You might still feel good when people appreciate you, but you don't crash when someone criticizes you. Your emotional baseline becomes much more consistent. The paradox of true connection. Here's perhaps the most beautiful aspect of becoming free from others' opinions. You actually connect more deeply with the right people. When you're not performing for approval, you attract people who appreciate your authentic self. These relationships are more satisfying because they're based on who you really are rather than who you think you should be. You also become better at supporting others because you're not caught up in your own need for validation. You can listen more deeply,
offer more honest feedback, and love more freely, because you're not constantly monitoring how your behavior is being received. This creates a positive cycle. Your authenticity inspires others to be more authentic, which creates deeper connections, which provides genuine fulfillment, which reduces your need for external validation, the ultimate freedom. The ultimate freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want without consequences. It's the ability to choose your actions based on your own values and judgment, rather than others' expectations. It's the freedom to fail according to your own standards, rather than succeed according to someone else's. This freedom comes with responsibility. When you stop blaming others' expectations for your choices, you have to take full ownership of your life. This can be scary at first, but it's also incredibly empowering. You become the conscious creator of your own experience, rather than a victim of circumstances or others' opinion. Conclusion: the weight of nothing. So here's the profound realization that changes everything. When you truly understand that others' opinions of you are primarily about them, their psychology, their fears, their projection, their limited perspective, those opinions naturally lose their weight. They don't become completely irrelevant, but they stop controlling your choices. You realize that you've been carrying around the imaginary weight of judgments that either don't exist or don't matter. You've been performing for an audience that's largely in your own head, trying to impress people who are too busy with their own lives to give your choices much thought. This isn't about becoming cold or disconnected from others. It's about becoming genuinely connected to yourself, and through that authenticity, forming deeper connections with people who appreciate who you really are. The person who judges your unconventional career choice doesn't have to live with the consequences of staying in a job that drains your soul. The friend who criticizes your relationship decisions doesn't have to wake up every day with your partner. The family member who disapproves of your lifestyle doesn't have to live your life. You do. You're the one who has to live with your choices, face the consequences, and ultimately answer to yourself. When you truly internalize this, others' opinions don't lose their weight gradually, they lose it instantly and completely. This is your invitation to step into that freedom, to stop performing for an audience that isn't paying attention, to stop seeking approval from people whose judgment you wouldn't trust in any other area, to stop living according to expectations that were never yours to begin with. Your life is yours to live. Your choices are yours to make. Your path is yours to walk. Others can offer input, but you're the final decision maker. When you truly understand this, not just intellectually, but in your bones, you'll discover that the weight you've been carrying it was just the shadow of other people's limitations, projected onto your unlimited potential. The moment you see through the illusion, you're free, and once you're free, you can finally begin to live.